thanks everyone for coming to the event. And as you know, right, for the past 3 years, we've been organizing this Rollup Day um, for AltLayer and also our partners. Yeah, it will be great to see like all of you here. And as you know, right, at AltLayer, we've been working in this space for like sort of over 3 years to providing these rollup services. And also since 2 years ago, we work closely with EigenLayer, and we together come up with the idea like of this Restaked rollup to basically provide some advanced features for the rollups. And today, we will just elaborate more on this Restaked rollup. As we all know, right, for the past 2 years, there are a lot of rollup stacks came out. For example, Optimism proposed this OP stack, Arbitrum proposed this Orbit, and Polygon has the CDK, and ZK Sync has a ZK stack. And on our side, right, we are partnering with all of them to provide this rollup stack for all these applications. So right now, as you know, if you are application or project, if you want to launch a rollup, quickly, we can just within a few minutes, we can quickly launch this rollup and also the combination for you. For example, you can choose any of the stacks as I just mentioned. And at the same time, you can also choose different DA for your sort of project. So in that case, right, by the end of this year, we roughly estimate like there may be over 1,000 rollups for different like sort of sectors. It's no longer just a general purpose rollup like Optimism, Arbitrum, or base. We will also have a lot of application-specific rollups like gaming, social, DeFi, and also AI. However, if we know that for the next one, yeah, if we know that for the basically, if we know that for the current existing rollup stacks, we only have one sequencer. So as you can see, right, there are a bunch of issues around this single sequencer. The first one, we all know that there are single point failure. If some of you participate in this airdrop for OP Arbitrum, we all know that there was like a few hours downtime. It really because like it's a single sequencer, even we can have multiple RPC endpoints, but in the end, we still rely on the single sequencer to process all the transactions and generate blocks. But since it's a single node, right? Once it's done, the entire network is somehow like will be done. And beyond that, we also know that for Optimism, Arbitrum, even Coinbase Base, right? We know they have very big backers. We trust them. Even the single sequencer is fun. We can do all the DeFi applications. We can basically do bridge assets. But however, if we launch a rollout for some of the application I just mentioned, right, for games, social, previously we don't really hear this company's name before. So in that case, even we can have like fraud proof or ZK proof for these rollups, right? But still, since it's some sort of new names to us, we probably don't really set up the trust on them. And beyond that, as well know, right, even for the proof side, right now, either for fraud proof or for ZK proof, we only have like sort of one prover to generate proof for like sort of performance. In that case, as we can see, right, apart from this centralization of sequencer, we also have a relatively centralization of these verifiers or these prover. And the issue basically around the current rollup stack, even we can launch all the rollup very fast and basically we can really do it for as many applications as possible. But we also need to handle these issues, right? And how to handle these issues, basically, we come up with this Restaked rollup, and later I will explain why it can solve these issues. But before we get into Restaked rollup, we want to know like what Restaked rollup is not. And the first one, we are not building a sort of new rollup stack. Basically, the rollups, the Restaked rollup is fully compatible with all the existing rollup stacks like OP stack, Arbitrum, Orbit, Polygon CDK, and the ZK Sync. And beyond that, we are not building a new L2. A lot of our friends and partners ask, like, when you launch your L2, but actually, this is not a new L2. It's sort of like you can treat it as a framework. And on top of that, right, so the third part that for all the existing rollups, the security is still based on the proof you have. Either if it's an optimistic rollup, then it's a fraud proof. It's a ZK rollup, then it's a ZK proof. On our side, we just provide some extra security guarantee and decentralization for it. And then once we know what's Restaked rollup is not, and then how about like what's Restaked rollup can provide. So as you can see, right, we don't really want to be like a dedicated framework. We want to be agnostic to all the existing rollup stacks. So in that case, you can treat it as a modular framework, which can be compatible with all the existing rollups and also some future rollups launching with all the existing rollup SDKs and stacks. And beyond that, with Restaked rollup, we can provide better decentralization and better security. And at the same time, with the shared security from this eigenlayer, we can also enable some very interesting features like fast finality on top of it. Okay, as I just mentioned, right, this Restaked rollup is a completely new concept together proposed by us and also eigenlayer, and since last year. And recently, we already got a lot of interest. Basically, want to be the first few Restaked rollups to leverage all the new features. And if you look at the first set of new features we enabled by doing this Restaked rollup, right, we sort of like solve all the crucial problems and issues for the rollup space at the moment. So the first three like sort of features we provide is decentralized verification, which is vital, and then fast finality, which is mark, and also squad for decentralized sequencing. So with all these three features, right, later you will see that it can definitely address all the concerns and issues we just mentioned at the beginning. So for vital, as I just mentioned, right, since right now we have a like single sequencer for most of the rollup stacks, and sometimes we don't really trust these new rollups by the new projects. So in that case, we may want to form a dedicated, separate, standalone network to do this verification for the blocks and the transaction produced by the sequencer. So that's why we need a vital. Basically, we leverage eigenlayer's AVS. We build the AVS and like collaborate, like work with a bunch of operators in the eigenlayer ecosystem. And these operators will run the software we propose to them. Basically, it's a stateless client for OP-Stack or for Orbit, and then they will also generate ZK proof if there's something wrong. So in general, right, it's sort of like a decentralized verification network for the single sequencer. So in that case, if the sequencer is behaving maliciously, right, apart from the proof, we can have these separate third-party verification network to do this sort of re-verification. And for all the other projects, they can readily have more trust in this third-party verification network instead of this single sequencer. This sort of we can solve this trust problem for all the existing single sequencer rollup. Yeah. And beyond that, right, apart from the decentralization of the verifier or prover, we also want this, sometimes we want the decentralization for the sequencer. Because based on some like regulation in some regions, if a single sequencer, they may treat it as a custody service. But in that case, we may want multiple nodes to run as sequencers. In that case, as you can see, right, obviously we can avoid this single point failure, and at the same time, we can also mitigate the censorship. And so with this score, right, we run this decentralized sequencing network for OP-Stack, Arbitrum, and also the different ZK rollup. In that case, like we can further address the centralization problem of sequencing. And as I just mentioned, right, these features are not just separated or these or isolated, and we can build the other feature on top of the previous features. For example, mark. Mark is the sort of faster finality layer on top of the vital. Once we have this decentralized verification network for the sequencers or the rollup, right, we can really build a lot of cool applications. For example, we can reduce this finality time for normal rollups, either from like sort of a few minutes into a few seconds. At the same time, since it's a separate verification network, right, you don't really need to wait for 7-day challenge period or sometimes like the proving time for a few hours. You can sort of like trust this decentralized network and basically do all this fast withdrawal for the bridges and also some DeFi applications. Of course, there's a balance and sweet spot, right? If you really want the best security guarantee, probably you can just wait for the final finality, which is settled on Ethereum. But if you really want something very fast, and in that case, you can really rely on Mark to build your DeFi applications and also these bridges. These are like very high level concepts, right? For a lot of users, especially community members for the rollups, what you can do is basically as I show you, right? Once we have this Restaked rollup, for example, use Mark as an example, then we can enable this dual staking model. So in that case, we can leverage EigenLayer's Restaked assets to secure these sort of like ABS via the different operators. As you can see, right, the operators are part of the decentralized verification network. But at the same time, apart from these ETH, STEs, and all the LSTs and RTs on EigenLayer, you can also stake like Alt to enable this decentralized verification network. And beyond that, right, there are a lot of like benefits once we have this MAC system. As I just mentioned, right, we can quickly get the fast finality. So basically, you don't really need to wait for a lot of minutes on the Ethereum for the confirmation of the block, or you don't really need to wait for the 7-day challenge period. And beyond that, we also provide very straightforward interface. For example, RPC endpoint. So in that case, not just bridges or DeFi protocols, even for like users, they can also quickly basically use this network by switch your RPC endpoint to this network. And on top of that, right, as I just mentioned, it also provides a lot of benefits for the projects. For example, you don't need to change any of your existing rollup code. It's fully compatible with all the existing stacks. And beyond that, as I just mentioned, right, you can also provide extra utility for your tokens. On top of this dual staking model, and we are working closely with a lot of partners. As you know, last week we launched this L2 for our gaming partner, Ethereum. And later on, we will also onboard more and more these kind of partners and projects using Restaked rollup. So in that case, as you can see, right, you can basically leverage STEs or LST, LRT from this Eigen platform, also our token, and also even this application token to do this dual staking, and also earn these dual or triple rewards. In summary, so for the past 2 and 3 years, we've been building a lot of new features and research around these rollups. And since last year, together with RAM and the Eigen team, we proposed this Restaked rollup. And we hope with Restaked rollup, we can really address a lot of these crucial issues in this rollup space. For example, the decentralized verification, decentralized sequencing, and also these fast finality issues. And if you have any interest, like sort of in building like these rollups together with us, feel free to like contact us via these different channels. And yeah, that's all for my talk, and I hope you enjoy the event. Thank you.